Hail companions and welcome to 5 indie games you should try. This video is a result of a failure on my part. I forgot to check my audio, and because of my negligence, my voice did not record. And so I have all this video game footage and audio, but without my voice. And so instead of just throwing it all away and redoing it and faking my reaction or whatever, I've decided to make this video instead. So I hope you enjoy. First game on the list is Love Me. Love Me is a game where you play as a Japanese schoolgirl called Kamino. And Kamino has decided to infiltrate her school in the dead of night in order to find happiness and love. Which is kind of the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, but that is the last place you'd expect to find happiness and love. Especially after hours, but I don't know. Things are different over there in Japan, so who knows? Of course, things are not as they seem. Because as she enters and she goes down this hallway, she opens a door, and then there's a room with like a pillow in the middle or something, and a mirror on the wall. And it looks like it came straight out of like a samurai's castle. And you're just like, this is really out of place. And so you then approach the mirror, and then a version of yourself in the mirror starts talking to you, and is a real jerk. Once you get done talking to yourself, you then enter the school. But, just like the room you left, something appears to be off. The school is more like a maze. It's unnatural. There are shadow versions of yourself just around. And worst of all, there's something crawling on the ceiling. The gameplay loop is as follows. You move around the maze, avoiding the demons that are trying to maul you to death, while collecting coins to put in vending machines to increase your stamina so you can outrun them, and trust me, that is something that is very hard to do. And you have to find these love letters and burn them if you wish to proceed to the next level. Now, sadly, this demo only has one level, the very first, and the minute you move on to the next, it ends. And it's kind of hard for me to accurately judge this game just based on the demo alone because, well, the current gameplay is that you run around the level, finding items in order to proceed. I mean, it's very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. But you also have to avoid, the monsters and pick up coins to increase your stamina. And I'm sure when the full game comes out, there will be other things that you have to avoid and or do. At least I hope so. Because right now, it's very basic. And for me to recommend it to you, it would really have to depend on the price. I would, I just have to wait and see when the full game comes. So I will recommend it to you. At least try out the demo on Steam and see for yourself. The game is interesting. The atmosphere is wonderful. The music, the art style, beautiful. Retro, beautiful. And it's definitely going to be a story about mental health of some kind. Like finding self-worth and self-love and stuff like that. Overall, I'll keep an eye on it. Alright, so before I even begin to talk about this demo, you need to play it for yourself. Just play it for yourself. The game is called Cat Named Mojave on Steam. Play the demo and then come back to this video. Trust me. This game is wild. I did not expect the twist in the story one bit. And, when I first saw this, I'm like, I didn't really expect much from it. Like, I was just like, oh, it's just going to be some possibly, YouTuber slop, but maybe not. Maybe it is, but also maybe not, because this seems pretty good. Now, the game starts out with you stranded in the middle of the desert on the side of the road because your car broke down. And so as you walk along the side of the road, you notice a path. But as you walk, you see a big orange cat man drag a red stained trash bag behind him. Leaves behind a red trail, like blood. And so being the genius we are, we follow him to his decrepit and disheveled, rotten-looking house, falling apart, junk all around the outside. We then decide to enter the house because what else are we going to do? I enter the kitchen, and there he stands. A cat man with bloodshot eyes. And he said that he would help me if I helped him. You know, I scratch his back, he scratches mine. And all I had to do, he said, was to take the shotgun and go out and hunt this creature's name. I forgot what it was called. But he's like, oh, these things look like deer. I'm like, oh, okay, so you want me to hunt like a deer? Like, I can do that. I think this is more than fair. And as I left, I'm like, maybe this guy is not so bad after all. He's kind of crazy, yeah, but maybe he's not that bad. And so then we follow this path, and here comes a nice little quaint house. And when I enter inside, there are deer people. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. There's and you'll never guess what their names are. Jane Doe, John Doe, and John Doe Jr. I guess you can see where this is headed. Now, this is a re-record because last time I sounded like a freaking lunatic when recording this video. But I'm just gonna let my previous self just tell you what happens next because I think he did it a lot better than I can right now. So just listen. You know, everything seems normal. They all, you know, they're pretty nice. The dad is not. He is a hardcore alcoholic. They ask you to stay for dinner. And, you decide, hey, what's the worst that can happen? And then Jane Doe asks, oh, do you mind cutting this pie for me, sweetheart? And you're like, certainly. And then she says, I think my son was playing with a knife in his room. And I'm like, you really shouldn't let your son play with knives, but okay. And so as you approach the knife, embedded, and it looks very bloody. Suspiciously bloody. I don't know if he cut himself. I hope not, because that's a lot of blood. But as you go into the room, you see the knife embedded into his drawer. And as you go to pick it up, bam! Mojave peeks from around the window. And he's like, take them out. Now's your chance. Make sure it's a clean shot. And I'm like, no! I refuse. No! I am not going to commit murder with this crazy cat. And so then you go back to the pie. And then you chop the pie. And then Jane Doe says, smooth cut. You must be good with your hands. In a, uncomfortable manner, especially for a married woman. And so then you sit down to dinner and, you talk with the family, yada, yada, yada. As the dad gets more and more drunk, drinking more and more beers. Let me see. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think 8, 9, 10 bottles of beer right there on the table. And then again, doing a small little argument about, I think you've had enough to drink. Your drinking is why we're in this situation, John. And then it's like, oh, John this, John that. Oh, you're the reason I'm unhappy. Why don't you just tell him the real reason we're here? Afraid of being judged? And then, yada, yada, yada. So the situation very quickly escalates. So as John is off to take a very loud piss, Jane Doe says and begs you to take her with you. She wants to, there is no life, she has no life here. I can't stand it anymore. She says, I need to be with you, and I can make you happy. And I'm like, what? I'm like, look, I don't want any part of this. Lady, you need to figure your shit out. And then she goes on to say, have you ever felt a connection as strong as ours? I think I may be in love with you. Don't you feel it too? I'm like, no! I just met you, lady. I just wanted some pie. I just wanted some pie. But then I got to thinking, I don't know. It's not love I feel, but something else. A carnal desire for flesh. And I have this dear woman offering it to me, freely, just for a ride. And I thought to myself, maybe, just maybe it might be worth it, just this one time. But before I could make a regrettable, admittedly, decision, John Doe comes out and he's like, what the hell's going on here? And then she's like, oh, I was just saying goodbye to our new friend. I wasn't doing anything, honey, I swear. And then he's not having it. He's like, you went flirting with him all evening. We moved out here so you would be done with this shit. So apparently this bitch a hoe, and there is a pattern of flirtatious and deviant behavior from this woman and mother of a child. But she continues to deny it, yada yada. And then, boom! John Doe out of nowhere tackles you to the ground and starts choking you to death. And him screaming and her screaming and me dying, losing consciousness, my eyes going dark, fixing to be embraced by the void and being sent down into the abyss. I had no choice but to pull out my shotgun and splatter his brains on the wall. It was me or him. I had no choice. I had no choice. But in doing so, both the mother and the child panicked. They started screaming. They started running around. They ran outside. And I didn't know what else to do. They left me no choice. And I had to shoot them too. First, I shot the son. And then, I shot the mother. I tried to convince her, isn't this what you wanted? I took them out, now we can be together, but no! She wouldn't stop screaming, she wouldn't shut up, and so I had to shoot her. But unlucky for me, and unlucky for the boy, he was still alive, twitching, choking on his own blood, gasping for life. And so I had to finish the job. I didn't want to. I just wanted deer pussy. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to kill that family. I just wanted some deer pussy. I didn't want to. They just wouldn't stop screaming. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. They were just running around. They were screaming. They wouldn't calm down. I didn't want to go to jail. Okay? I was scared. I did the only thing I could. And I shot them both. I had no other choice. And so then, I had to take the bodies and pack them up in a wagon and pull them back to Mojave. There, I took them to the back shed, laid them on a big table, and I cut their limbs off. I butchered them, and I dumped the remains in his basement, presumably to be consumed by him in a later time. And so then, after doing his dirty work, I went back to the house, and I demanded that he give me that battery. But no. I then entered the house and spoke to Mojave, where he talked about the thrill of the kill. He asked me, did it move me? Did you enjoy the crunch of bones breaking? Did it make your heart pound? Did you like it? Be honest. I'll know if you lie. And me, of course, being the rational human being that I am, I said I had no choice. And then he replied, there it is. The oldest lullaby in the book. I had no choice. What a line. Listen, you always have a choice. You chose not to die. You chose to pull the trigger. He was right. It was me or him. His logic's a little bit flawed here, because everyone wants to live. No one wants to die. And to put a self-defense situation as, oh, you chose to pull the trigger. Yeah, I did, because that maniac was choking me out. But I digress. He then said that I chose to drag those twitching corpses back here like a dog bringing in the paper. Don't lie. You like that they made it easy for you. That they gave you permission. And I'm like, no, I had no choice. Maybe he is right about that. I didn't need to kill the wife and son. I could have just let them go. They could have lived. But no. I chose to finish the job. I didn't need to do that, but I did anyway. Did I enjoy it? Did I? I don't know. Maybe I did. Anyways, I then said to him, I'm done. I don't want any more part of this. I am finished. Give me the battery, you owe me, and I'll be on my way. But he says, no, get yourself ready for the next hunt. This one's going to be a little bit more interesting. And I told him, absolutely not. This is not what you promised me. You promised me the battery. If I went out and I hunted those deer creatures, I did what you wanted. Give me the battery. But he refused. He told me to just stop wasting time and go to the garage to prepare. I had no choice. I left the kitchen. I walked to the front door, and the demo ends. And that is my experience with Mojave. A cat named Mojave. Yes. I absolutely recommend this. This threw me for a loop. I did not expect anything at all of what went down in this little demo. Like that was insane. That was insane. Absolutely recommend this. I mean, it also depends on the price, but this is very intriguing. I like it. I like it a lot. I highly recommend that you keep an eye on this. And yeah, to those that decided to watch anyway, I feel sorry for you. You should have played the demo while you had a chance. You should have played it for yourself and then came back here. I gave you that opportunity, yet you didn't take it. And now you should feel ashamed. How dare you? How dare you do that to yourself? But anyway, moving on to the next one. The next one is called All Living Things, and this one's very intriguing. It is a game made with claymation. And as you can imagine, it is beautiful. It is superbly done. However, I do have some concerns and criticisms about it. For one thing, I don't know if it'll cost money. And if it does, I hope the puzzles are a little bit more complex, because right now, as they stand, these puzzles, I wouldn't call puzzles. So the gameplay loop is this. The claymation will move, and you have to click certain parts of this thing to figure out this puzzle to go along with this poem. That's the gist of it. So in order to figure out this poem, you have to click on certain parts of the clay figure in the right order. And that's the puzzle. You just gotta keep clicking until you click things in the right sequence. And I don't know about you. I don't want to call that a puzzle. You know what I mean? I feel like this game is more of a art piece than a game. You understand what I'm saying? Because the amount of work and effort that went into this was immense. And if you know anything about claymation, you will understand that. But at the same time, if he's going to charge money for this, I would hope the puzzles are a little bit more engaging, a little bit more complex rather than just, oh, I gotta click this thing first before I click this thing, and then, oh, I gotta redo it all over again. Click that, click that, click that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The demo is very short. It can be beaten in like 10 minutes or even less if you know what to do. It's definitely one of... I will recommend this, absolutely. However, I feel like it's one of these games that you pick up and play once and never touch again in your life. Or you watch someone else play it once and then never engage with it again in your life. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something to keep in mind. Overall, I am extremely impressed by it. It is beautiful. And, you know, if you just want to, I guess, relax and look at some pretty claymation, look at some pretty clay objects move around and animate and, you know, clay dragons breathing fire and other cool stuff like that, then absolutely. But I am going to recommend it. But the big thing is price. I don't really... Like, I'm a cheapskate. I don't think it's worth, currently, I don't think it's worth more than $5, but I'm a cheapskate, so you're just gonna have to make up your own decision. All right, moving on to the next one. Alright, this one I'm sure you've probably heard about. It is called No, I'm Not a Human. And this one might be the best and most replayable out of the lot. The game is simple and simply horrific. The game is simple, but complicated in nature. And what I mean by that is that the premise of this game is that the sun, for some reason, is getting extremely hot. So hot, in fact, that it is dangerous to go out during the day. So everyone has to move around at night. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are these creatures called the Visitors. They look like humans, they act like humans, they sound like humans, but they're not. They come from under the earth, underneath the ground, and they have ascended to the surface to kill. Why? I don't know. What are they exactly? I don't know. Demons? Maybe. Mutants? Who knows? Regardless, there are a few rules to survive this apocalypse. The first one, and the most important aspect, never be alone. Always have someone else with you in your house at all times. Or at least at night. Because the Visitors will attack you if you're alone. They will not attack someone who is in a group. Even two. Two is fine. So as people knock on your door, you have to look at them through the peephole, and you have to determine for yourself if this guy is a visitor or not. And it's tough. It is very tough. You just have to talk to them and make a judgment call. You know, the people you turn away, they'll have sob stories and stuff like that and try to get you to open the door. Some of them even might have kids, but there's no guarantee that they're human. And so it really comes down to your personal judgment. Whether you survive or not comes down to your judgment. Now, if you let them in, don't worry, you won't die yet. You have an opportunity to assess the visitor you let in to make sure that they are human or not. And there are different ways you can do that. So every night, the newsman will come on, and he will tell you a new clue to identify a visitor. For example, the visitors always have perfect white teeth. They have no armpit hair, and their nails are always dirty and filthy. And I think that's it. I might be missing one. Once they're inside your house, you can check them. However, the caveat to that is that you have an energy meter. Because oh yeah, they have bloodshot eyes. That's also one of them. I forgot. Because God forbid you tell someone to open their mouth, all right, to check their teeth, to smile. And because it's so exhausting. Like, that's just so stupid to me. Like I understand the need to balance the gameplay, But that makes no sense. That is so dumb. So dumb. But anyway, you have a chance to check them. And if they are a visitor, if they are not human, you can make them leave, or I guess just shoot them because you do have a gun. But yeah, like, it is simple, but also complicated. Simple in gameplay, complicated in procedure. And it really will test your deduction skills and, like I said, your judgment. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for this one. It's going to be a good game. You're probably going to see a lot of YouTubers play it, Markiplier, IGP, others. And so if you want me to, I definitely will do it. For any of these games, if you want me to play them, just let me know and I'll get to them. All right, moving on to the last one. All right, now the last one on this list is the one I had the most fun with, surprisingly. It is called Sir Kix-a-Lot. And I gotta tell you, like, this is a joke game. All right, it is a joke parody game. It does not take itself seriously one bit, and I was kind of expecting it to be not that good, but boy, was I wrong. This game is so freaking fun. You have got to play the demo for yourself. It is on Steam. Do it. Play the freaking demo. It is so fun. Now, the premise is, well, it really doesn't have an overarching story. I mean, maybe it does, but I don't know right now. But anyway, the point is, it is I guess like a immersive sim, kind of. It offers, I don't know, I don't think that's the right term, but it is a RPG-like game that allows you to essentially tackle the level however the heck you want. There are 3 classes that you are not locked to. You can branch out into different classes. You have the rogue, you have the wizard, and the standard warrior. I chose the standard warrior, and I'm glad I did. I went back and replayed it with the wizard, and the wizard was a little bit more complicated, but also the magic spells that you have access to, really good. You can tackle it however you want. You can engage in melee combat, and oh yeah, the melee combat is surprisingly in-depth. Like, the enemies can block and they can strike you, and you know, you have directional attacks and directional blocking, which is something straight out of Mordhau. And because of that, I found myself using some Mordhau tactics, like dragging my weapon, you know, which essentially means I'm looking away from the target, I attack, and then I swing my weapon around to hit them in order to get around someone's parry or block. That is a very common tactic used by players in Mordhau, and it's one that you can use here. You can also kick like you can in Mordhau. You can kick these guys to break their guard or whatever. And oh yeah, the physics, you can throw people off the side. You can throw things at people. You can you can throw a banana peel. No, a fish. You could throw a fish and they'll slip on it like a banana peel. Or you yourself slip on it like a banana peel. The game is just fun. You have magic wands to set people on fire or freeze them or shock them. You have bows. You can throw things. You have different weapons, spears, swords, clubs, axes. You can parry and drag like you're freaking Mordhau. You can dismember people. You can chop off their legs and their arms and their heads. And it's so fun. It is so fun. And you can tackle, like I said, tackle the level however you want. There are hidden chests everywhere. There's hidden secrets. You can climb all over the place. You can do all types of things. It offers so much freedom, and I love that. This game is going to be so fun. It's going to have a lot of replayability because there's 3 classes with unique ability trees, and you can mix and match if you want. It's kind of hard to do that now in the demo just because you have limited skills, so I wouldn't recommend that. But, you know, try out all of them. Like, the wizard class is very fun. There's this one spell that I adore, and it allows you to take over a bad guy for a certain amount of time. And then you can go, and I don't have any footage of this. I played this in my own spare time, but you can go and attack somebody, and even if you lose control of that person, they're still gonna fight until someone dies. I love that spell so much. You can cause so much havoc. You can kill so many bad guys, or just get rid of that one tough bad guy you don't want to deal with. And when you've, just throw them off a cliff or something, it is like, this game is so good. This game is so good. I love it to death. I love it. It is so good. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is like, as stated previously, this was a re-recording because the first time I did this, I was very unhappy. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and if you want me to make another video like this in the future, just ask. But yeah, oh yeah, and also one more thing. If any developer just happens to see this, and they watch to this point, and I featured your game in this, just know that any criticisms I have, I hope you use to make your game better than it was before. I criticize out of love, not hatred. I want your games to be the best they can be. Understand? I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I don't do that. We build people up here. We build developers up because I want the indie community to flourish. I think the future of gaming really lies with the community. It really lies with the indie developer. And the reason I say that is just because corporations can be unreliable at best. Even though they hold all the money, they're just unreliable. They feed us slop after slop and microtransactions, but thankfully there seems to be a trend where games are getting better now, but still, don't hold your breath. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, companions. And if you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until we meet again, companions, wherever that may be, I bid thee all a hearty farewell. Goodbye.